I was working at a corporation which was not very welcoming to the LGBT community. And one of my fellow employees at the company had come out as trans, and her name was Kimberly. And what used to happen is when everyone sat in the lunchroom, they used to call her Kimber He.
I grew up in a small town. Everyone used to call me faggot and all sorts of homophobic names.
When I was 14 years old, a group of friends and I were hanging out after school one day, and one of them said, "That's so gay." I automatically felt my hands become clammy and I felt knots in my stomach and I had no idea how to respond without outing myself.
I've come across people that I thought that were also in the same social cycle like myself, but it turns out not to be the same way, using, languages that I do not appreciate.
I've spent about 15 years working in the hospitality industry, specifically in kitchens, and they're not always the most tolerant place for queer identified people.
Growing up as a young queer person at home in Jamaica, homophobic and transphobic language was the bullets in the gun. It was the stones that they threw at us. It was my very first experience with having a negative feeling about myself, my true self, the person that I know that I was born to be.
I ended up going into social services and was a youth worker and heard way too many kids being called gay and faggot and tranny and sissy.
You know, calling someone names or using languages that are not appropriate really hurts, and I have felt those kind of pain.
Dans l'histoire de ma carrière, dans ma vie personnelle, il y avait des moments que j'ai entendu le langage qui est homophobique ou transphobique. Je n'ai rien dit à le moment et je la regrette maintenant que je n'ai jamais dit à le moment.
It's not only like you hear it and you're like, oh, okay, like you're stressed, but you can live with it. Sometimes it's more than that.
Heard someone yelling homophobic words to somebody else, and they were getting very close to that person.
I remember a specific instance where I was walking home in my first year of university, and it was late at night, and I heard someone shouting something, and I turned around and they were shouting actually fag and dyke, because they couldn't tell what gender I was, but they just knew that I was queer or different, and all of a sudden someone looked like they were trying to run at me.
People call you by name. People just, sometimes they just not call you, they get fight with you, and after you just need to go to the hospital.
In my home country, in Uganda, there is a lot of homophobic behaviors on the streets of Kampala.
When I call my identity and I said who I am, I've been in prison, me and my girlfriend, for 1 year, and then they divorced me, and that's why I am here in Canada. I lost my girlfriend after 9 years. We've been together, home, house.
Once you're detained in police and then you're released, it's very hard, you can't find yourself on the street. Even sometimes it's hard to stand and stop the homophobia, talking to people, make them understand. It's really hard.
I think if I were to experience that today, I would be much more strict about making sure that every workspace is a safe place for every person to be, no matter what their sexual orientation or gender identity is.
So I suffer so much, so whenever I see this word or somebody talk bad, I'm gonna stop it. If I hear it, I will stop it.